Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joe Samieger here, along with Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish, and we have Casey Campbell joining us for today's show. Very excited to have you on board, and of course, very excited for everyone in the chat room. We see Demas. Here we go, guys. Yes, another race weekend's here. Definitely excited to get going, and of course, a big thank you to our Patreon subscribers calling the show, Mark Robin, and our newest one, David, for keeping us on the air. You too can invest in the Grid Network. Link in the video description to invest in us, get us to the track. Once we hit $500 a month, we could be at the track a lot more frequently, reporting from the track. Very exciting time here at the Grid Rank Network for 2023 and the EPI as well. Kobe, a lot of excitement for NASCAR fans. The cars are going to be back on the track, and for the second time, the Busch Light Clash is not Daytona. It's over in the West Coast.
Yeah, Joe, back in LA again, as you said, for the second time, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum has been converted to a short track to host the NASCAR Cup Series season opening exhibition race. The Busch Light Clash is ready to welcome fans and build the excitement level for the Daytona 500 coming up soon. Last year, many considered this race to be a huge success, with Joey Logano taking the win and all of the entertainment in between. Casey, do you anticipate a race similar to last year or a different race and potentially a lot more contact than we saw last year?
I think there's going to be a lot more contact because there's going to be a lot more cars in the main event. So it's always interesting to see what this event does. This is the second year of the Clash, so it's an exhibition race. So it's maybe a different approach by drivers, and everybody wants to win this. Yes, the 75th anniversary of NASCAR in 2023. So that's going to be fun. So, but overall, I honestly think that there's going to be a lot more crashes and all that stuff, and because there is going to be more cars, there's not a lot of room on that racetrack. So definitely going to be really interesting to see how these cars go at it today.
I have to agree. This is going to be a larger field. Last year, it was a little bit of smaller field, but this year, you're going to have 27, 26 getting out through essentially the heat races, the last chance qualifier, and then, of course, you're going to have that points provisional. So it's going to be very exciting to see a lot more cars. I think this is going to be a similar effect to what we saw with the All-Star race at Bristol. We anticipate a lot of beating and banging, but with a smaller field, once it got spread out, we didn't see the cautions. We didn't see the exactly typical Bristol where you anticipate to see. Now, more cars in there, and I think this event is going to be even more of a challenge because yes, they redone the track. It's going to be the same layout as last year, but it's not going to be the exact same. Just like how we see racetracks get repaved, it's going to be a little bit different here and there. The teams, though, they have the notes from last year, where last year they came with all sorts of different ideas for strategy, setups. Now they got that notes from last year to give themselves a better base for a strategy entering this race weekend to set up the cars. And then the atmosphere there, I think it's going to get the drivers really excited. It seems like this event has become sort of a really great launch. As Dimas mentioned in the chat room, this is the 75th season on NASCAR. I think it would be a great opportunity to see some really good racing. Everyone wants to kick it off and be remembered as the first driver to win the first race in the 75th season of the Cup Series. And I think overall, it's going to be really exciting. A couple of comments in the chat room. Dimas, NASCAR Cup Series at LA Coliseum is back for a second row. And this is the final acceleration race for NASCAR Cup Series. Kevin Harvick before retirement. At least in the Clash, we still got the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, which will be very exciting. And Adam, NASCAR's back. Cannot wait. Kobe, this excitement's there. Everybody excited to see NASCAR is back.
Yeah, it's always exciting whenever NASCAR back or just racing in general. As the months go on, we're gonna get a lot busier here with Grid Network. And some weekends we're gonna be covering all of the series on the same weekend that's in the grid ranking. So for now, we're just going to enjoy NASCAR and a few series here and there. But by the time the weather starts to get warmer outside in this part of the world, spring comes and then summer, we're going to be in full swing. And the NASCAR Cup Series is going to be in full swing tomorrow with the Busch Light Clash with a lot more cars. I expect to see a greater sense of urgency, especially, with the main show just been 150 laps long. There's going to be a great sense of urgency for those drivers to try to get track position and get towards the front. So don't be surprised if you see them, using the bumper. The 27 car field I think it's going to be quite crazy, and the format is actually a lot similar to last year. 425 lap heat races with the top 5 advancing to the main event. 2 last chance races with the top 3 advancing 50 laps each. Then the 27th and final starting spot will go to the highest finisher in the 2022 point standing who couldn't race their way in. The top 3 finishers will stand on the podium and be handed medals like in the Olympics, gold, silver, and bronze medals. Overall, no major changes, but a larger field than last year. Joe, do you approve of the minor changes in the first ever NASCAR podium?
I'm excited for the first NASCAR podium. I think this is the perfect venue, the perfect event to do that. We know there's been that debate, victory lane versus podium. It gets people all excited on both sides. Well, now you're in an Olympic stadium where they've had podium events overall throughout the years. So this just seems to fit that theme. The medals, we know there was controversy a while back where F1 had the idea of medals presented. You could do that here. I think this is really showing that the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum is becoming a good opportunity to try things different, and especially if it sort of fits the theme. This is an Olympic Coliseum. Let's go ahead and have a podium. Let's have medals. We're doing different formats with this race. It's not the traditional 500-mile race, 400-mile race weekend. Overall, this race with the format, I think is really great. It seems like sometimes, especially with the All-Star race, we were just changing it up, making it a little too confusing. Now with these minor changes, if you got it last year, the format, you'll have a good idea of what you're to expect with just the minor tweaks. And I hope this is something NASCAR will keep in mind in the future. If we, of course, this 3-year deal with the Coliseum, but if they do venture to other venues for this event, have something similar so we all know, especially the casual fan, what to expect on race day.
Well, and also the LA, that stadium, the Memorial Coliseum, is actually going to be hosting another Olympics back in 2020 and 2028. So they'll be in Los Angeles for that one. Can't wait for that. Only about, I think, like 5 years away. But anyway, overall, I don't mind it. It's just like, if I know that if get medals and stuff, you're in Los Angeles Olympic stuff. It's fun. It's cool. I like it. Just I'm not sure what fans will react to if they just decide, oh, let's just do it every week then. Yeah, I don't mind. It's a fun event. It's standing on top of the podium and getting your gold medal after winning. That's a big deal. It's a big deal anytime that you win. It doesn't matter how you do it. The win is still a win, and all these drivers want to get that win. And of course, we see podiums in IndyCar. We see them in F1. Obviously, IMSA as well. So it just fits in.
Yeah, NASCAR is really one of the only major racing series in the world that doesn't have a traditional podium, and I'm looking forward to seeing the 3 drivers on the podium wearing the gold, silver, and bronze medals around the net. Exhibition races like the Clash and the All-Star race, they're just supposed to be a lot of fun, anyways. So I don't understand why there's been a lot of pushback from the fans, as what I've seen on social media, where they don't particularly like this at all. And actually, Ben Snyder brings up this comment in the chat room. He also agrees. He's not sure why there's been so much resistance towards a podium. Most other motorsport series do it as long as the winner still gets a moment in the spotlight. I think there's no better place to try it. And Adam Limmery says the Clash in the Coliseum is the perfect place to award gold, silver, and bronze medals for first, second, and third. Totally agree, Adam. LA Coliseum hosted the Olympics, as Casey mentioned, going to be in Los Angeles again in 2028. Before we get there, going to be in Paris next year in 2024. Really like the Olympic atmosphere, and it's going to be very exciting to see which 3 drivers are going to stand on NASCAR's first ever podium. And if there's a bump and run for the win, hopefully there won't be any fighting on the podium, because that might not be the best look. But overall, last year, Steve O'Donnell reported that 70% of the fans in attendance at the Clash had never attended a NASCAR race before. It brought a big surge of positive energy ahead of the Daytona 500, and then we saw a great race at Fontana after that. Overall, NASCAR had a very positive start to 2022, and they're hoping that 2023 will bring similar results. Now, as Dima said, it's the 75th season of NASCAR. So here's my question. Could NASCAR see a continuing surge in attendance and better TV ratings this year?
Well, actually, I did pose this question to a guest on my channel. That was on Monday, of course. Cindy Yen, of course, who does all the data trends and all that stuff. She was on my podcast on Monday, and I asked her, and it was always, there's always going to be growth in the sport and all that stuff. And obviously, I think if there's ways that drivers can tap in on on Twitch or on TikTok, it's where everybody's going. Well, people in the 14 through 18 or in your mid 20s as well. That's where they're really kind of connecting with fans. And obviously everybody knows, who Bubba Wallace is, who Ryan Vargas is, obviously because of all the things that he does on TikTok and of course on Twitch as well. But at the same time, I think it's if they continue to make the progression of making drivers more out there, more available, more, if they can promote their drivers a little bit, drivers more. Always good promotion can always be better. But I think I think you're definitely going to see a big year of growth, and it obviously starts with this event in one of the biggest media markets in Los Angeles. So it's definitely going to be a major step forward. And obviously, I think having it in prime time on a Sunday night, it's going to be there. And obviously, no NFL this weekend. And of course, we got the Super Bowl next week. And by the way, big few weeks for Fox. And obviously, Fox wants to capture all the rating stuff. They had the NFC Championship game last week, and of course, this week will be the LA Clash. Next week, of course, is the Super Bowl, which is on Fox, and then of course the 65th Daytona 500.
When it comes to the 75th season and NASCAR, I do see this event, especially now that it's going to be on prime time. You don't have football. This is a great opportunity to capitalize on what you did last year and get in so many new fans. If some of those fans tuned in for the first half of the season, then they faded out, bring them back in again because they'll remember they had a fun time at this event. And now with the 75th season, a bigger reason to be more involved. A lot of folks we've been seeing on social media, if they were involved with the 50th year back in 1998, they've been sharing that, where it was past media credential cards, memories of the 1998 season. And the thing, too, I feel, 1998, we saw Jeff Gordon dominate that season. People will still remember mostly how it was the 50th, and of course, Dale Earnhardt getting that win at the Daytona 500. This is a great opportunity for NASCAR, no matter how the season turns out. As long as it's positive and there's great memories, people are going to remember memories for a long time to come, like Dale Earnhardt winning that Daytona 500 the 50th. I think this is going to be a great year for NASCAR. They got some of the bugs from last year taken care of, and this could really propel them for, I think, more rating success. We'll see how this long season, because there's only, again, one off weekend. That's as we're transitioning from Fox to NBC. Retain those new viewers, new fans, see how it turns out. But I think overall, shaping up for a fun 75th season of the NASCAR Cup Series.
Joe, there's no off weekend for us because during that weekend I'm in Berlin for the ARCA race. So there's no off weekends here at Grid Network. That's for sure.
Yeah, Grid Network won't get any off weekends until like right before Christmas. So we're gonna be powering through for the rest of this year. And Joe, actually, in regards to what you said about NASCAR solving all the bugs and issues, I think we actually need to take a more cautious and measured approach to that, because the major issues in 2022 was about the next gen car and all the safety concerns, and as we know, NASCAR did some crash tests. They're going to bring in like a new rear clip to try to absorb the impacts, and we have to like wait and see how that goes. Hopefully we'll see less drivers suffering a concussion this year in crashes that should not cause concussions. So for now, I'm actually gonna be cautious about that. I think that was one of the biggest issues that we saw last year, and also the racing on the short tracks and road courses wasn't that great. It's my understanding that NASCAR made some minor changes over the offseason to try to improve the on-track product in that area. And as we talked about on Grid tonight, for the road courses, in order to improve the strategic element of those events, NASCAR is not going to have the stage break. So at the end of stage 1 at Watkins Glen, stage 2, if there's no incident on track, we're just going to keep on racing. So I think NASCAR is taking some solid efforts to try to improve the on-track product, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be successful with that. So there's still some things that they'll have to figure out throughout this year, and we can only hope that we'll see improvement. And as we mentioned, this race is the Busch Light Clash is going to be really wide open. A bunch of drivers are going to have a chance to win, and we have some new faces in new places, like Kyle Busch leaving the number 18 Toyota with Joe Gibbs Racing. He's going to be driving the number 8 with Richard Childress Racing, and there's going to be no number 18 car on the grid this year, fielded by JGR. Ryan Preece replaced Cole Custer, the number 41 at Stewart Haas Racing. Noah Gregson moving up from Xfinity full time. He's going to be in the number 42, replacing Ty Dillon at the team formerly known as Petty GMS, now called Legacy Motor Club. And you have Tyler Reddick, who left RCR at number 8 car. He's going to be driving the number 45 for 2311 Racing, replacing Kurt Busch. And then you got the Xfinity champ, Ty Gibbs, in the renumbered number 54 with Joe Gibbs Racing in his first full season and as a NASCAR Cup Series driver. Joe, can this race weekend help the drivers and their new teams build solid chemistry ahead of the Daytona 500?
Yes, it can, especially when it comes to radio communication and then making those adjustments between the heats on your cars. Big thing, of course, when it comes to a new team or even changes, we know there's several teams that have brand new crew chiefs. It's getting that communication really squared down. So when you tell the crew chief you're loose, you're bad loose, they'll know how much to make the change into that car. This is a great opportunity to do that because you don't have points on the line. If you could advance to the Busch Light Clash, out of the heat races, you have even more time. I mean, just about every team's guaranteed to participate in one heat race and either the last chance qualifier or the Busch Light Clash. If you're one of those teams that advance from the last chance qualifier, you have 3 opportunities. Almost gives you an upper hand, even though by the time you get to the Busch Light Clash itself, you've gone through a lot more equipment and a lot more racing than those that qualify straight out of the heat races. So overall, this is a good opportunity, but still, it's still going to be a little bit of disadvantage, especially when we get to the Daytona 500, where you're going to have a different type of racing with the super speedway package, the longer events, and just especially for the rookies. I anticipate it's going to be a hard season, but with this new car, still only the second year, I would not be surprised if we see a rookie win during the regular season.
Well, Joe, a rookie did win during the regular season. Of course, Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500. And we did get some good runs out of Harrison Burton and Todd Gillen, but it was but the thing is, everyone was a rookie kind of technically last year because of this new car. But yeah, there's obviously going to be some growing pains as well with obviously, new team drivers getting used to new teams. There's got to be that transition period, and it has to happen during the season. But yes, it's about building a notebook. That's what we're going to do here this weekend at the LA Clash. Technically, I know all 4 NASCAR Touring Series. Of course, we got Xfinity Trucks and ARCA as well. They, of course, start in Daytona, but you get a little taste this weekend here at the LA Clash with the Cup Series. Of course, all 36 chartered teams are going to be there, and it's going to be fun. So, as I like to say, let's clash.
Yeah, Casey, well said. Let's clash, and it's going to be really exciting to see which drivers are going to perform the best with their new teams and which ones may have some struggles. I believe we have a comment in the chat room from Fish Habit saying that we're doing a great job. Thank you for giving us something different. Of course, we're really excited to be doing this every single weekend throughout the 2023 motorsports season. If you want motorsports coverage in IndyCar, NASCAR, formerly Formula One, and many other series, we have you covered right here at Grid Network.
Yes, we do.
Like Casey said, we don't really have an off weekend until we get towards Thanksgiving, and then we still have some more races and closer to Christmas. We're going to be busy here, but definitely subscribe so you don't miss any of the programs. And Dimas echoing what Casey has said too, let's clash. So very exciting. And of course, big weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series. But they're not the only big show going on this race weekend as well. Way down over in Australia, for the first time since 2020, the Liquid Moly Bathurst 12 hours will see the return of factory-based teams and drivers to Mount Panorama, plus the return of the all-pro drivers. Very exciting. This race is unique compared to most endurance races because it starts in the early mornings when it's still dark outside, before the sunrise Then as the sun comes up, they're already underway racing. Very exciting opportunity for all the teams to get back. And last year, because of everything going on, the local teams based there, the drivers, and the small, limited international presence, they dominated the event. Kobe, starting with you, does this feel like the old Bathurst 12 hours is back in full this year?
Absolutely, Joe. It is so exciting to see all the hoopla down under at Mount Panorama. Yesterday, I was watching qualifying in the top 10 pole shootout, and the atmosphere was absolutely electric. I mean, they had Liam Lawson driving a Red Bull Formula One car for demo laps, and the Australian fans and international fans who traveled to Bathurst, they were really excited. Someone who was at the track messaged me on Twitter and said that it was so quiet while the Formula One car was going by because people were in awe, because that's something you don't see every day. A Formula One car driving around Mount Panorama. I watched it on the stream, and it was really magical seeing Liam Lawson do some really fun laps around there. And also we saw a Red Bull Amport race and do a demo run of the new Chevrolet Camaro Repco supercar, which we're going to see in just a month's time or so. Really exciting time in motorsports. And getting back to the question itself, the Bathurst 12 hour is it really feels like the Bathurst 12 hour of old. 2020, that's when we had all of the factory back teams and drivers from all over the world. 2021, they had to cancel the race, unfortunately, due to COVID. And last year, we saw a few international drivers, but not many. But it was mostly the local-based teams carrying operation. But last year, it didn't feel like the Bathurst 12 hour. It wasn't really that competitive, and I found it really hard to get into. But this year, I feel like the competition is back. Of course, we'd like to see the car counts go up a little bit compared to recent years, but I think this is only the beginning and the rebirth of the Bathurst 12 hour. I think next year we're going to see even more cars, especially in the pro class, going for the overall victory, and maybe a few more manufacturers as well. I think this year's Bathurst 12 hour is setting up to be very exciting. And if you're interested in watching the Bathurst 12 hour, be sure to head over to the GT World YouTube page, because they're going to be streaming the entire race live for free. And that's the key word, for free. So you don't have to pay any subscriptions to watch the Luke Moly Bathurst 12 hour.
And you don't have to have any commercials during that live stream too. Oh wait, wrong. Okay, never mind. That was a joke from last week. But yeah, it's exciting to see the Bathurst 12 hours. I mean, I don't know. I think just talking with Kobe throughout the last few weeks have just got me excited for sports car racing overall. This is a fun class. We have 5 different classes of cars in this great event. But did you see that lap that Mauro Engel put on there yesterday? The Mercedes is just picking up right where they left off. Last week at the Rolex 24, of course, he was part of the WeatherTech winning team in GTD Pro. So, this is going to be a fun event. This is my first time watching this race, and it is definitely going to be exciting. We got lots of big manufacturers are in this. You got in the main class, which is known as the Pro Cup. You got 3 Mercedes starting in the top 4 in first, second, and fourth, followed by the Porsche starting in third. Of course, also you got Audi and BMW and Lamborghini. They're all spread around the 5 different types of classes. You got Pro Cup, Silver Cup, Pro-Am Cup, Gold Cup, and Am Cup.
Very exciting with all the classes, and overall, I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching this. I'll go through some more comments in the chat room. Joe Dexter, thank you so much for the kind words. Glad you're enjoying it. Welcome to Valentino Rossi. We're going to get to that. He's in Mount Panorama. And Brandon, Let's Clash and 12 hours. Very excited group of folks in the chat room, and the love deliveries for the Bathurst 1000. If you haven't checked out the Bathurst 1000 website and their Facebook and Instagram, some great looking cars this year over at Mount Panorama. And one of the things, as we've been talking about, looking at all the manufacturers in this race, we got quite a lot. And of course, one of them is Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, and Audi. One of the drivers we'll be keeping an eye on is the multi-MotoGP world champion, Valentino Rossi. He is in this race, first time doing this. Since retiring from MotoGP competition, we've seen Rossi transition into a full-time sports car racing driver. This weekend, he's driving the number 46 BMW M4 GT3 Team WRT with co-driver Augusto Fares and Maxime Martin. So very exciting. Casey, starting with you when it comes to this great event and this weekend. What should we expect Rossi's Bathurst 12 Hours debut as his promotion to a BMW factory driver status?
Well, we've had a lot of BMW factory drivers to talk about. Of course, a couple came on my channel. So yeah, we should expect what we should expect with Valentino Rossi, just the absolute best. Looking at the field right now, and especially with that, the BMWs are starting 6th in the Pro class, and they're also starting in 9th overall with some names obviously that many BMW fans will know. But I think it's gonna be an interesting ride. This is a 12-hour race, so there's a lot of things that can happen. But I do think Mercedes, you have to put them as the favorites right now. Top 3, as I mentioned, the top 4 spots, 3 of them are filled by Mercedes in the Pro class. So it's definitely going to be a very, very interesting race today so far. But I got to go with that pole-winning car. That fastest lap with how the Mercedes performed last week at the Rolex 24, and I think that car is going to go back. It'll be a good few weeks for Mercedes because I think they might take the win, back-to-back wins for the Rolex 24 last week, and then the 12 Hours of Bathurst.
For sure, Casey. Mercedes has looked very, very strong these last couple of weeks. I know we'll talk a little bit more about the dominance of the Mercedes AMG GT3 and a little bit. And before I answer your question, Joe, wanted to touch base on a few comments in the chat room. Joe Dexter right here. Really appreciate you for watching, supporting us, Joe. And for anybody who doesn't know Joe, I used to work with him at the local newspaper here in town, helping him cover high school football. Really, really appreciate your continued support, my friend. Also wanted to respond to this comment from Adam Limber, who said that Bathurst is incredible, no matter the race. Absolutely, Adam. Bathurst, this track, I consider it the Australian version of Darlington because it's a true driver's track. Not every driver can master this track because if you make one mistake, the mountain will bite. Just like at Dover when Miles the Monster takes a bite out of a NASCAR stock car. It doesn't matter if you win the Bathurst 6 hour, the Bathurst 12 hour, the Bathurst 1000. Winning in anything in any category is special at Mount Panorama. So Bathurst is one of the most prestigious tracks in the world. In this race, the Bathurst 12 hour is actually my favorite endurance race every year that I enjoy watching. I like this race more than I like the 24 Hours Le Mans and the Rolex 24 at Daytona. It's just such a special event, and really happy that it's back in full swing this year. And in regards to Valentino Rossi, we're really excited to see what he can do. He has 2 really fast co-drivers in Maxime Martin and Augusto Fares. Rossi's pace in the GT3 car is really improved significantly since he transitioned to this full time, and I think Rossi's going to be able to do exactly what he needs to do. So Fares and Martin can take it to the end, because I'm pretty sure those 2 will probably be finishing the car, and for Rossi to be promoted to BMW factory driver status, that's really huge for him. But it shouldn't be a surprise at all, because he is indeed Valentino Rossi, the doctor. He was the doctor of MotoGP, and now he's trying to be a doctor in sports car racing as well, and he's also expected to potentially test the BMW LMDH car later this year. So who knows? We could see Valentino Rossi going for overall wins on a prototype in the future.
That's going to be really exciting. More comments in the chat. We're coming to feel at Bathurst taking the green flag in the dark is one of the coolest things in racing. Yes, it is. Especially, I think for the fans too. That has to be such an experience to get up so early, to get to be ready for the start of this race and be there. That's an experience you got to experience. And then buzzing for tonight's race. Very excited group of fans tuning in. Be sure you subscribe to us so you don't miss any of our programs. Now, of course, all 3 of us, we were here last weekend for the Rolex 24s. And just like the 24 hours at Daytona, the Bathurst 12 hours gives everyone a chance to get back in the swing of things after a long off season. Several drivers from the Repco Supercar Series are competing in this race. Just to name a few, 3-time Supercar Series champion and grid ranking defending world champion Shane Van Gisbergen, Brock Feeney, both in pro class, Chaz Monster, Anton De Pasquale, those 2 are in Pro Am, and some of the biggest names in, of course, the Supercar Series. Kobe, which Supercar Series driver do you anticipate is in the best position to win their respective class?
Oh well, Joe, that's a really tough question. You know, Monster and Anton De Pasquale will be in the pro am class, so I think they'll have a good chance. But the pro class is going to be absolutely stacked. And those Mercedes, I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit. I think that's going to be the overall car to beat. But the pair of supercars drivers, I think, going to have the best chance. It has to be that triple A Mercedes of Shane Van Gisbergen and Brock Feeney, and also the Mercedes factory driver Maxi Goetz. I think they're going to be in the best position to succeed. We like to talk about all these factory back efforts from international teams, but people don't need to sleep on AAA race engineering. They know how to get the job done. They can compete against the best GT3 teams in the world. So I think that we need to really pay attention to the Feeney, Goetz, and Van Gisbergen entry. I think they're going to be really strong.
Yes, they will. I think it's going to be a tough one, especially in that pro class. I mean, it's looking like it's so stacked over there. I mean, because it is. But if there's anybody that needs to have a good weekend this weekend, it is BMW. They need to have a solid weekend because they just did not do well across the board and really in the Rolex 24. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see what BMW can do, and I think many people are going to be excited to see Valentino Rossi in one of those cars, as we just talked about. So I think it's going to be a very, very solid day for BMW. However, the win is going to go to the pole-winning car and Mercedes.
Sticking on to the theme with Mercedes, for the last couple of weeks at Daytona, the Mercedes AMG 3 GT3 was the class of the GT field, putting together a very strong run showing in GT Pro and GTD. Mercedes, they're going to look at keeping the good times rolling at Bathurst. They look good at practice. Mario Engel taking the pole in qualifying, setting a new record, the first sub 2 minute, 1 second lap in the history of the Bathurst 12 hours. Engel edged out Brock Feeney, who qualified second in Triple Eight. Overall, Mercedes, total of 3 Mercedes in the top 5 with Porsche and BMW up there. So, Casey, going back to you, you said BMW, they need to have a good weekend, but is this shaping up to be another race where Mercedes is the favorite?
Yeah, it's just like we're going back to Formula One time here. Yes, of course, Mercedes is going to be the favorite because there's so many of them. Yeah, I do think so. It's just that they've really performed well. It seems like, it kind of compares to the Acuras in the top class. I mean, they just throughout the weekend, they were the favorites to win the Rolex 24, and then they just absolutely just dominated it. And now Mercedes, I know there is a lot of them, but they are the favorite. In my opinion, I was watching qualifying. Yes, I know Shane Van Gisbergen is, and yes, those two need to be. Yes, Porsche does need to step it up as well. So it's going to be an interesting battle here in the pro class, but it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely going to be fun to watch. And I'll say, if Mercedes does not win the Bathurst 12 hour this year, it will be an epic failure across the board because look, look at all the Mercedes they have up there. They have 3 Mercedes in the top 5, and then they got 50% of the top 10 as well. So, and the BOP really is favoring them right now. So I think Mercedes better enjoy the BOP while they can now, because I have a feeling, after a few races, we're going to see them peg back a little bit and come down to earth to give the other manufacturers a better chance at winning. But there's so many Mercedes drivers. You can pick just any one of them in the pro class, and they're going to have a real chance at getting the job done. So I think that this is shaping up to be an all Mercedes show. And if they don't win, they have to be scratching their heads, because in my opinion, there's no way that Mercedes should lose this race.
Mercedes, they have to be one of the favorites in this race.
Got some news that just came in there. Speaking of Mercedes, the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo has been dealt a balance of performance hit for the Liquid Moly 12-hour Bathurst 12-hour in an adjustment made between qualifying and the race. A bulletin issued by the SRO Motorsports Group on February 4th confirms a 10-kilogram weight increase for the Mercedes AMG, which of course locked out the front row grid for Sunday's endurance contest at Mount Panorama, courtesy of drivers Engel and Feeney. So the Audi and the BMW has been handed a 10 10-kilogram weight break, while the pair of Porsche 911 GT3 RS in the field are now 5 kilograms heavier. I think I'm saying that right? There is a 10-kilogram reduction for the sole Lamborghini Hungarian GT3 Evo that is entered. So that's some interesting news. Of course, that was a Sports Car 365 just posted that. So that's quite interesting to read with all these different weights in there. Still learning about these types of classes there.
And as we were talking about Mercedes, now that you add 10 kilograms of weight to the Mercedes, do we anticipate this could shake it up, or do we still think the Mercedes are still going to be one of the favorites to win this race?
Well, Joe, it's really funny. I was just saying that Mercedes better enjoy this while they can before they get a BOP break. It turns out that the BOP break is actually happening right before the race coming up, and the cover starts in less than an hour now at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time here on the East Coast. I still think overall Mercedes is going to be the favorite, but they're probably not gonna be able to stretch their legs as much as they want to. Overall, I don't really think that this BOP adjustment is going to change the game, that Mercedes is going to be at a disadvantage. It's just going to stop them from, completely running away with the show and give the other manufacturers a fair chance. I know it's not really popular to make a BOP adjustment like just a couple hours but before the race. But hey, it just shows, the SRO cares about the show and put on a very, very competitive race. It will be no fun, to see all the Mercedes just run with it.
It's something else to just right here. This is why we encourage everyone to tune in, participate in the chat room, because as we're on the air, even on the wrap-up shows, we've been on the air where someone's been disqualified and the results change. So big news.
Yeah, also, the SRO has additionally applied the turbocharged BMW M4 GT3s ran by the BMW M Team WRT with a small increase in turbo boost pressure at 5,000 to 7,000 revs per minute. All the other GT3 cars retain the same engine restrictor sizes that they were given at the start of the event, which opens the upcoming season. Further down the BOP bulletin, the SRO has confirmed that the minimum starting tire pressure of 1.4 bar has been replaced with a minimum hot pressure of 1.85 bar for each Pirelli tire after 8 continuous green flag racing laps in a stint.
A lot going on, and this is why we do this live on the air before the races, because news like this, as it breaks, we're here to report it, and that's why we encourage you to subscribe if you haven't yet. Well, this sort of changes the next question when it comes to Mercedes, because last race weekend, Mauro Engel, Jules Gounod, and Daniel Hukadea won the GTD Pro Class with Cooper McNeil and WeatherTech Racing. All three of those drivers, they essentially boarded a plane, flew to Bathurst, maybe with the new Rolex as well on their wrist. However, after being on the teaming up in the Rolex 24, they're now in separate Mercedes for the Bathurst 12 hours. Overall, Kobe, which Mercedes factory driver will finish better than the other?
Well, I think it's really the same. In position cities with that his driver lineups, but really all of these driver lineups are strong across the board.
Yeah. So obviously, when you look at, it's going to be definitely interesting. I'm not sure how much this weight penalty is going to really going to affect things, but because there's so many of them. But yeah, it's a balance of power is always going to be interesting to see where this goes. So it's going to be very interesting to see the start of the 12 hours of Bathurst.
Going to be very interesting to see the start of the 12 hours of Bathurst. And of course, Kobe, 12-hour Bathurst, this is a race we're following this year because of the Grid Endurance Performance Index.
Yeah, and there are events in this Grid Grid Endurance Performance Index, the fourth event this year scored for the EPI. Week 1 of the EPI ranking will come out in April, the same time as the grid ranking. So far, we've scored 4 events in the grid ranking, 3 from Formula E and 1 from the World Rally Championship, Rally Monte Carlo. The first point scoring event for the NASCAR Cup Series is Daytona 500. Last year, Shane Van Gisbergen dominated supercars in the grid ranking. Raffaele Marciello led the EPI all year long, and you'll see him in today's Bathurst 12 hours, sharing the number 999 Mercedes-AMG GT3 with fellow factory drivers Maru Inga and Mikhail. So, Joe, do you anticipate closer competition in both the EPI and grid ranking this year?
With the Endurance Performance Index, and especially with the hypercar class that we're going to see doing crossover events, I anticipate we're going to see a lot closer compared to this year, especially if we see the reliability of the hypercar start to show issues during the long run where we have DNFs. Same with the grid ranking. Last year, Shane Van Gisbergen essentially walked away with the Supercar Series championship, just putting on a clinic when it comes to how to dominate a series. This year, they have a brand new car. Are we going to get something like what we saw with NASCAR and their new car, where you had 19 different winners? Are you going to see something like what Formula One experienced? Yes, the competition was closer, but Max Verstappen and that team, they were just on another level and they walked away. Grid ranking, I think overall, be a lot closer. The Endurance Performance Index, I think what occurred last year with Raffaele leading the entire, essentially we launched it after the Le Mans 24 hours, and he led the entire thing. I'm highly doubtful we'll see a driver lead it all year. And speaking about leading it and leading all year, that leads us to pick a winner. So if you're in the chat room right now, start typing in comment. Who do you think is going to win the NASCAR Cup Series Busch Light Clash at Los Angeles? That is the one scoring event of this race weekend. So we definitely want to see if you could get your name on the leaderboard. Edward Hunter from Formula E Zone has the lead. He extended it, in fact, and he earlier commented that his pick for the race was Noah Gragson to be the surprise winner of the Busch Light Clash. So Kobe, starting with you, who do you think is going to win the Busch Light Clash?
Yeah, Noah Gragson would be a surprise winner, in my opinion. But I'm gonna go with the driver who's currently driving for one of the top teams in a Toyota. I think Denny Hamlin's gonna start off the year with the victory in the Busch Light Clash.
Denny Hamlin is a good pick for the Busch Light Clash. We have Adam Lemery's Kyle Busch in Los Angeles, and he's going with the 888 in the Bathurst 1000. When it comes to this race, I anticipate we're going to see a very good race, very competitive, some beating and banging. So if we have that occurring, one driver that we know he's not afraid to give the bumper, especially for a win, Joey Logano. He's going to make it 2 in a row into 22 at LA and take the Busch Light Clash.
And taking a look at our upcoming schedule, if you're headed to LA this weekend for the Clash or interested in going there in the future, we encourage you to check out our Race Vibes LA video for the sights and sounds in the City of Angels. Link in the video description below. Monday night, we'll be having Grit Live wrap-up. We'll recap the NASCAR Cup Series Busch Light Clash and the Bathurst 12-hour. And as I previously mentioned, if you want to watch the Bathurst 12-hour for free, go to GT World on YouTube, and you can watch all 12 hours uninterrupted. Really, really exciting. You don't have to pay a dime. Just sit back, grab your coffee for later, your snacks, and enjoy 12 hours of race at Mount Panorama. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, especially like if you like what you saw today. Thank you to everyone who subscribed following our weekend of Rolex 24 coverage, helping us reach our goal of 500 subscribers before the Daytona 500. Now let's see if we can reach our new ambitious goal, 1,000 subscribers before the Indy 500 on May 28th. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notification. Be sure to follow our social media platform. Visit gridranking.com. And I see Fish Have It there says that Tyler Reddick is their pick to win the Busch Light Clash. That's a great pick there. And also take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Deschelle, and Robin and invest in each month in the Grid Network. Welcome to our newest Patreon supporter, David. We're so excited to have you join the amazing group of people. Keep us on the air. Once we hit $500 per month, we can begin sending members of our team to the track more consistently for live reports from the track, and we'll have more content for you. Link in the video description as well. If you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want and as often as you can. You can even buy a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you here on the air. For Joe Samniego and Casey Campbell, I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. Thank you all for watching and enjoy the races.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.